Hey everybody, welcome back to Dude's Brunch, a podcast about pop culture, internet garbage, and black coffee. I'm Taylor Olmstead, your host, and joining me, it's Tyler Reed. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
I had a single pastry, but I would prefer to talk about what I had on Sunday when we were supposed to record. Got back from Gen Con, and the company I went to a Brazilian steakhouse. And if you've never been to one of those before, basically they have a flip-flop that says either I want more meat or I want no more meat. And they just walk around and they continuously give you slices of very good meat. And I was like, now listen, if anyone's watched the show before, you know, I'm a person that loves to eat food. And I'm like, I could eat for all eternity. Now, they put me to the test, and they won. They could not, they beat me handily. And frankly, I'm ashamed of myself. But that was some of the best meat I've ever had in my life.
Sean Evans is here. Sean, did you have some good meat for brunch this morning?
No, I had a counter to that meal, and I had an equally opposite childish meal. I had 2 bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and an ice cream sandwich.
No coffee, just an ice cream sandwich?
You heard what I said.
I'm so proud of you.
And I really admire Tyler's choices in food because he makes my breakfasts seem very unworthy of even any human consumption. So,
to be fair, I think after that event, I think I decided I didn't want to have as much meat anymore. Because I just got done eating like a veggie burger. And I was like, you know what? This makes me feel a little bit better inside.
Emily Bamforth is here. Emily, I hope your brunch made you feel better inside.
I can't say much actually because normally I bring my brunch game strong to this podcast, and this time I had a protein shake, and that was it.
That's not bad.
But what was in your protein shake?
It was like literally protein shake.
Like prepackaged.
Comes in a box. Yeah, it was real bad. I was just making those gains this morning.
Making them gains. Well, as I said at the top of the show, I'm your host Taylor, and for brunch this morning, I had scrambled eggs and a piece of toast with homemade apple butter. Overachieving this morning, but mostly only because I ran out of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I see you, Sean. I ran out yesterday.
I've been drinking orange juice to get rid of any semblance of scurvy that I might have. But I also ran out yesterday, so today when I went to Trader Joe's, I got a whole new thing. Extra pulp, because it's important.
Really? Extra pulp? I am much more of a no pulp, but with calcium type of person.
I like to eat my orange juice.
Why don't you just buy an orange?
Because fuck oranges.
Is that not?
You know, I come on this show to present interesting topics, not get hounded by another presenter all the time.
Emily, how do you take your orange juice?
I don't take orange juice anymore. I'm not allowed. So my doctor is not a fan of me drinking orange juice.
I'm sorry.
Tyler, do you even know what an orange is?
I do.
Do you drink orange juice?
If we're talking about the pulp situation, as a child, I was definitely pretty anti-pulp, but I feel like as I've grown up, I've learned to appreciate the pulp.
Exactly.
Although, in my heart of hearts, I think I am a smooth man.
Pulp is the pizza crust of juice. Just saying.
That's not true at all. That is incorrect. Pizza crust is the best part of the pizza, and pulp is not the best part of orange juice.
Ooh, controversial opinion from Emily. Sean, you look like you want to fight
somebody
that.
from like the Association of Orange Growers on here, and we can like really hash this one out. One of our shows, like.
But not this show. Not this show. We're not here to ruin podcasting, Sean.
I put oats in my smoothies, so I just fuck up all the time. It's fine.
What are you, a goat?
Yes. Help. The sorceress turned me into a goat.
So what we're going to talk about this week?
Well, Sean, I thought that you had something we were going to talk about this week.
I do.
What you got, Sean?
This week, one of my coworkers sent me this article because I didn't know that she had such as much of a fond of millennial. She was as fond of millennial hate as I am, and finding it in everywhere that it goes. But she sent me this article from Business Insider called "Psychologically Scared Millennials Are Killing Countless Industries from Napkins to Applebee's, and here are the businesses they like the least."
Okay, resident journalist Emily Bamforth, is this a headline or a sentence?
Wait, what is it again? Read it to me.
Psychologically scared millennials are killing countless industries from napkins to Applebee's. Here are some businesses they like the least.
That is a sentence, sir.
It doesn't have any punctuation in it.
It has an M dash in the middle.
Ooh.
It should have punctuation in it. There's this beautiful thing called a subhead, which should be utilized in that situation. But yeah, they definitely got all the search terms in there, though. So good job, Business Insider, on your SEO.
It's almost like that was the point.
What?
I researched the author, and Kate Taylor writes a lot about millennials. I think that's her beat, if that's still a technical term.
Is she a millennial?
I'm not sure.
Let's see.
Something tells me that the Business Insider's millennial correspondent is probably not an actual millennial.
I don't know. There are a lot of millennials at Business Insider. I have multiple friends who work at Business Insider.
If we say that word one more time, I'm gonna throw up.
I think you'd be surprised at how many underpaid jobs millennials actually work.
Should we just substitute it in for snake people? How many?
There is I'll link to it in the show notes, but there is a browser extension you can get where you can substitute millennials for snake people everywhere on the internet.
It makes these stories so much better.
Tyler, you're just gonna have to get used to it because tonight's topic is, are millennials killing everything?
Sorry. Do snake people kill everything?
I love ASMR.
Yes.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite. Did you know I love to just listen to people throw up for like 3 hours while I go to sleep?
We
Moving
all
on.
have our things.
Sean, do you want to walk us through the things that we're supposedly killing and we can refute them? Is that the plan here?
Yeah, we can. I think because there's not that many, so we can kind of go down and talk about whether or not we think this is true or not. So, the killings of the snake people. So, the number one first killing of the snake people is casual dining chains like Buffalo Wild Wings and Applebee's.
I would argue that that's just because casual chain restaurants like Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wings are not good.
Well, I think when you're like in like high school or like even like middle school, as early as then, I feel like the meme, the proto meme we would say anyway about Applebee's is that they microwave their food. So it's like, if people say it enough times and they, it kind of goes around enough, of course snake people don't like Applebee's if they microwave their food.
I think another element to this too is that, it says that snake people, to abate Tyler, prefer eating quickly in fast casual or quick serve restaurants. But, those restaurants are also typically a lot cheaper than these casual restaurants.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I mean, Chipotle compared to a Buffalo Wild Wings, I feel like Chipotle is still cheaper.
Well, let's look at the fast casual restaurants that have popped up, right? Like they're like Chipotle.
But I think it probably varies more depending on where you live. Like I can name off like a ton because I live in Washington D.C. Like we have our Chipotles, we have like our what is it, Evergreen or whatever it is, like the salad places. We have like a bunch of ramen places. We have like a bunch of
a witch.
Right. We have a bunch of like taco places that are fast casual that aren't they aren't Chipotle, they are tacos.
Is that their advertising line? We are not Chipotle, we are taco.
Well, no, they're called DC Taco. They're not like
no,
it's not
I'm
like
just
Chipotle.
saying,
Like it's
that would have been funny.
Anti-Chipotle. We're like Chipotle, but we're not.
But we're tacos.
I think that's both Moe's and Qdoba.
Which we have here both.
I think that maybe it's just that restaurants like that are popping up have food that caters more to snake people audiences. Like Sweet Greens or Evergreens or whatever it is has like these designer salads that are very customizable and you know exactly what's going into them, as opposed to a Buffalo Wild Wings where you don't even know if what you're eating is chicken.
Rat meat.
And I think another part of it too is that the sports bar atmosphere of these restaurants is kind of fake. And, most millennials are young enough that they would rather just go to an actual sports bar, like a real bar with sports on TV, than the weird suburban shopping mall equivalent of one. Because for the most part, we live in cities and don't have children, and so we don't need to be in these like kind of falsified suburban environments. Does that make sense to anybody else?
I mean, like too. I think there's a lot more factors that are pulling our attention than going out and watching, the game at a sit-down restaurant with our family. Like 90% of babies that were had last year were had by millennials, which means that the millennials that our parents have young children, right? They're not like
they're not going to be going
sitting
out.
down. Like you want to you get off work, you want to come home, and you want to be at home, because you know what it takes to be a parent. So that's what I mean. I just don't see maybe in a few years, 10 years, you'll be ready to go out to these kind of restaurants again, sit down with your family. But right now, man, it's just a hassle. There's other priorities that are competing with what's going on.
That being said, I do somehow end up going to I go to B-Dubs only because I can order in and I can just get it whenever I want. But that's like a once a month kind of deal situation. And then I take it home. I definitely don't sit there.
So speaking of that, the next thing that we killed is beer. And their thing here is that recently Goldman Sachs downgraded Boston Beer Company because we just don't drink it. We just don't drink that much beer. We're a lot more likely to drink mixed drinks and wine.
This is bullshit.
This is absolute bullshit.
This article doesn't take craft brewing into account at all, and anybody in the alcohol industry will tell you that craft beer is the fastest growing segment of that industry. Just go to your local grocery store and you can see that. Craft beer is taking over, and it's taking away 1% of the market from these big breweries. I drink more beer now than, maybe not more than my dad did, but definitely more than I feel like a lot of people in Gen X did. It's just more varied and from more smaller breweries.
I would totally agree with that. I think that there's a move to buying local in general, and if you can do that with beer and get more variety out of that, that's something that Snake people are definitely attracted to.
And I really don't see that many people our age drinking wine.
I drink wine.
I mean,
I know a lot of people who drink wine.
But choosing wine in going to a place and saying, I will not drink beer, I'm going to drink wine. And I think part of that too is that the selection of wine in bars just isn't as good.
Sorry, Emily, but Taylor doesn't hang out with ladies that often.
Yeah, apparently not.
He's not up with the jet set.
Almost all of my female friends drink either craft beer or liquor because the bars that we go to have shitty wine. And I think if you had local vineyards stocking in bars again, that might help the wine industry significantly, but you just don't see that as much.
Well, you have to see people are being a lot more picky about what they're consuming, so that's part of the local beer thing, right? Is that they're going for quality, especially as this generation is getting older. And for wine, you have to be a little bit more picky about what you get. And if you're not, you're most likely going to, go to a store and get Trader Joe's $2 Chuck. You know what I mean? So wine is usually consumed at home. So I don't think you can or at restaurants. So you can't factor that out.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I was mainly thinking of bars. So I will concede my point.
Wine is mainly consumed at local wineries that litter the countryside around every major metropolitan area and charge you 3 times the amount you would pay for that wine in the grocery store.
It's true.
And they're full of millennials and people that ride motorcycles.
What's next, Sean? What else are we killing?
Napkins. Snake people prefer to use paper towels over napkins.
Napkins just feel like an unnecessary purchase.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think why buy napkins when you're already going to buy paper towels?
Because paper towels cost like $1 a roll, and 3,300 napkins cost like $1.50.
But then you have to go find the napkin.
I have a napkin holder.
You have a napkin holder?
Yes, I'm a civilized human being.
To be fair, I also have a
You're
napkin
so
holder.
classy.
It's just almost always empty.
Our paper towels, we have one roll of paper towels and it disappears. So
That's why we don't do that, because I think the paper towel roll that we've had we buy the half sheet ones, and I think the one that we've had has been going on a couple months.
Tyler, you need to be the tiebreaker here.
Oh, I mean, paper towels all the way.
Hey.
I think the less items you have to purchase is better. I mean, like, I just feel like the dynamic has changed. Like, people aren't, like, sitting down at, like, a table together. They're sitting in front of, like, a couch watching TV.
Put the napkins there.
Like, Netflixing. And, like, I mean, but it's
Sean's
also
right. You can just move the napkins over there. Like,
You're
it's
right.
not that hard.
They have more utility.
I think largely, too, it depends on what kind of, like, if you're a saucy eater, like, if you eat a lot of, like, messy foods, you're probably going to have paper towels. Because let's not lie. Like, a Bounty paper towel does 6 times the work of a napkin.
It's
I
more
really thought
efficient.
you were going a totally different direction with the phrase
Saucy
saucy
eater.
eater, but I agree with your statement.
Tyler strikes me as a saucy eater.
I am.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
and that's
God,
why
I'm
I
a
kind of
saucy
understand
eater.
him, like, wanting paper towels, because, like, he has a beard, which is a whole nother monster to eat with, and, like, you need something that's gonna be like the toilet paper of the face. And napkins aren't gonna do that. That's like, tissue paper versus an actual moving blanket. Like, you can't compare the two. Like, it
Yeah.
happens.
Can I point something out in the article too? So obviously this is an aggregation of different sources, right? This isn't actually, it's an aggregation. But under the Applebee's one, the CEO, Sally Smith, says millennial consumers are more attracted than their elders to cooking at home, ordering delivery, or eating quickly in fast casual. And then under napkins, it says the Post noted that millennials are more likely to eat meals out of the home.
Because nobody really understands what millennials are or
What
what
are
they
we
do.
doing? Like, are we eating at home? Are we eating in a field? Are we eating...
Do we even eat? No one really knows. We just consume through osmosis like snakes.
There's
But don't tell me that's how snakes don't eat, because I know how snakes eat.
All right, Sean, what's next?
Probably one of the war crimes that millennials will be known for is the end of the restaurant, like Hooters and bikinis and you name it. Probably every city has a establishment where
Women dress scantily and serve you hot wings.
I just thought about what a Freudian thing this is, to like eat food.
I'm so glad that hit you mid-sentence. Everyone else in the world has known this the whole time, but it took you verbalizing it on a podcast in front of the whole internet to realize what this was.
I don't spend my whole day thinking about boobs and food, Taylor. Apparently the whole world does.
kind of is what makes the world go round, but not really, because people... Did you see that piece Playboy put out? That was like, millennials don't like breasts anymore. They don't, apparently.
Millennials, the ass generation.
Yeah, in the article, they're like, who knows why people are searching for this?
Who knows? So here's the thing that I love about this. In this section on restaurants, which I can't believe we're using this as a term, it says, Hooters has struggled to win over millennials for some time now. In 2012, the chain attempted to revamp its image with updated decor and new menu items to attract more millennial and female customers.
I want to know what menu items they're offering that are meant to attract me.
I was more wondering if, maybe a better way to attract millennial and female consumers was to not objectify all of the women that work in the restaurant, but, new wallpaper helps too.
I personally can digest female objectification as long as there's some, like, pretty twinkle light somewhere. Like, that's fine.
Or a delicious kale salad.
Oh my god. I can digest anything if it's paired with a kale salad.
So what you're saying is blatant objectification and a kale salad is what you'll be having for lunch tomorrow when you go to Hooters.
Yeah. I don't
Great.
even know where a Hooters is around
They've
here.
all burned down.
We have the tilted kilt, but that's about it.
Same concept.
Speaking of objectification, snake people don't like cereal.
What does that have to do with objectification?
That's exactly
Cereal's an
right.
object.
He was moving on.
Not a great segue, but I will allow it.
This is this thing about how we don't like to use bowls, right?
Where have you seen that at?
Please cite your sources, Emily Bamforth.
Like millennials,
No.
the anti-bowl. Like you can put it on your head when you're a kid and cut your hair around it, but you'll never eat out of it again once you've read this. Like what?
Is
No,
that also a
it's
Freudian
because-
thing?
No, it's actually, I think it's linked in this article somewhere because in a survey, 40% of snake people said cereal was inconvenient because they had to clean up after they ate it. They don't like bowls. They don't want to clean them.
So what do we eat off of? Our sleeves?
No, like to-go wrappers or like
Or a paper
eat
towel.
Paper towel. But you're anti-paper towel, Sean. So
Yep, I'm just old-fashioned Sean, old curmudgeon Sean over here eating his
He just
cereal,
takes head napkins.
eating
and
his
just
cereal
wrap
and
them around your
wiping his
sandwich.
face with a damn napkin.
I remember this survey so clearly because I was like within my first 2 years of my job and everyone came over to me and asked, "Do you eat cereal in the morning?" And I'm like, sometimes, but I sometimes eat it out of a cup, so that's
Get out.
do you
What a
never eat
convenient method of
No,
delivering
I
that
never eat cereal out of a cup because I don't have a weird phobia of bowls.
I love
Do you use
bowls.
like how big is the cup? Is it like a glass?
It's
Do you have to
like
use
a
like a
mug.
teaspoon?
It's like a mug.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like when I want a smaller amount of cereal. That's
That's
basically
a
it.
good point. I see what you're saying.
It's easier
like-
to rinse out.
Yeah, like 2 cups of cereal is like what, like 1 bowl of cereal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should
It's
try
kind
that.
of fun to eat out of a mug.
My thing, though, is like, I don't feel like millennials really are decreasing the amount of cereal they're eating that much. Because almost everyone I know eats cereal for breakfast. 2 of us on this podcast had cereal for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, and I had ice cream.
What I'm almost wondering is if it's more older millennials that have small children that are maybe more health conscious of what they're feeding their kids.
I really like how the span of snake people is like 30 years. That's my favorite part.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But it's also, I feel like it's much like how we're not apparently sitting at tables anymore. I also feel like, there's always the stereotype of like, oh, a family is enjoying their morning together, where the father eats his breakfast and reads the newspaper, and then he's off to work, and the kids go off to school, where they also have cereal. And it's just like, I feel like our job, like our work-life balance is probably just really skewed, and so like you generally probably want something in the car or that doesn't require a lot of extra cleanup. Basically what they alluded to.
No, I totally agree. I don't think that like sitting around the table thing happens much anymore.
So
We don't even
next
have
on,
tables.
Oh, just kidding.
Millennials are
No,
killing tables.
Next is millennials don't like golf. They prefer fitness crazes like Soul Cycle, bar classes, and golf has failed to interest us.
Okay, so I had this conversation with some people at work recently because I work for a nonprofit and we host a couple of golf tournaments. And so a lot of the people that we work with do golf for work, either at our tournaments or at other functions. And I think what we've generally found is that people our age don't really golf because there's not really a business incentive in our generation for it. We've found other places and ways of doing meetings. I can't think of really anybody under 30 in my office that knows how to golf, let alone wants to golf for professional reasons. And if you're not golfing for professional reasons, I feel like that severely limits the amount of time you can spend golfing.
I know a few people who still golf for professional reasons, but they're all in like accounting or finance or that kind of thing where it's grandfathered in. What about mini golf?
Oh man, how hard do we want to insult people who might play golf to listen to this podcast? Yeah, that's the same thing.
I would argue that more millennials are playing mini golf.
So next is this will be a quick one. Is motorcycles. Millennials are less likely to own motorcycles.
I went on a rant about this for about 20 minutes when this story came out because I hate this so much.
I feel like millennials love motorcycles.
Okay, they're basing the fact that we don't like motorcycles on the fact that millennials are not buying motorcycles. Now, motorcycles are not a primary vehicle. They do not get you places like cars do. That is not their point. Millennials have so much frickin' debt that it is not even funny. What makes you think that we have time or money to have a second vehicle that's a Harley Davidson? We don't have enough money yet. Like, maybe when this generation gets older, they'll be able to buy one, but most likely no. Most likely no.
I think another key point in this too is that Harley sales are down.
Harleys are really expensive motorcycles.
Yeah.
Just to put it, they're like the Cadillac of motorcycles. We're not talking like like mopeds or like like an old Honda V-Wing from 1983
or even like Vespas.
Right.
No,
I'm talking
those
about
sales
like
are up.
a $22,000 motorcycle.
And so the other part of this too is that Harleys are a very specific kind of motorcycle. Most millennials that I see riding motorcycles are riding more the Japanese style bikes, like your Yamahas and your Mitsubishis, more like a sport bike. I think it's just...
Or it's like their grandpas.
Right, or if they're riding a Harley, yeah, it's like their grandpas. I think it's possible that Harleys are just out of fashion with this generation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't like motorcycles.
I still think it's just it's too expensive. My
That
dad
too.
just got his first one. He's loved motorcycles forever, but he only just was like, "Oh, I have the money to spend on this very expensive motorcycle." And he's in his 50s. So like my guess is that we should maybe wait until the snake people age up a little bit and then check
Call
in.
them what they are.
No.
This denial has gone on too long.
So this is going to be one that we just kind of casually glance over because this is easily explained away. Home ownership.
We're broke.
The oldest millennial is like getting in their 30s now, so I think that's pretty much over. It's not killing it. It's
Just, if you have questions about this section of the podcast, go read The Big Short and then come back and listen to the rest of the episode.
If you have questions about this, please go look at the cost of college and then return.
But you know what we can't explain the cost of? Why millennials don't like yogurt.
I love yogurt.
Yeah, I disagree. I love yogurt.
Tyler, do you like yogurt?
I like it in my smoothie. I like Greek yogurt. Ooh.
I don't like yogurt at all.
Do you think maybe... Do you think
There's the
maybe
10%.
yogurt sales are falling because of fear of listeria and not because millennials don't like it?
Listen, if you feel listeria, you wouldn't eat ice cream or have milk or eat chicken nuggets or consume anything ever.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but...
They also talk about it in the article how sugar has become has gone under attack, and a lot of yogurts have it. Like a crap ton of yogurts have sugar. Also, do you think more people are realizing that they're lactose intolerant?
I don't know.
That is a good question.
I feel like yogurt was more like a hip thing to do. Like there's all these different kinds, like the proliferation of yogurt in our lifetimes. Because I remember going to the store when we were kids, and it was like the options that you had for yogurt were like Dannon and
Yoplait.
yeah,
And that was it.
It's the rise of Greek yogurt, though. Like,
Yeah,
Chobani wasn't a thing.
right. And I just saw one the other day that we have at our grocery store here that's in a glass jar.
I love that one. I want to buy it, but it's like $5.
It is. It's expensive.
not gonna buy a yogurt that's $5.
I think it was like 4 for $10. I was like, this is yogurt. This isn't like
Gold.
fine cheese.
No, I'm thinking from that like a lot of people like a lot of people are discovering that they have celiacs or gluten intolerances, which is leading to like a decline in stuff, and so maybe the same thing is going for yogurt.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, another quick survey round. Raise your hand if you use bar soap.
Nope. You can't raise your hands on an audio podcast, you have to say.
Okay, Sean's the only person that raised his hand.
Sean, why?
Because I take a lot of time to invest in making sure that the soaps that I use are cruelty free. And I found that a lot of like organic soaps that are cruelty free are made in bar form. A lot of the stuff you can get at the store is like made by these big conglomerates that don't really care. So that's why I get it. And I use this almond soap that smells so good.
So I'll kind of come to Sean's defense here as well. I did use bar soap for a while, really most of last year. My main problem with using bar soap, though, is that it just takes longer. And as my mornings have gotten a little bit more hectic, it's been easier to just use liquid soap. I do miss bar soap, though, because I think you're right, Sean. Like, it's generally better quality, it's better sourced, and it almost always has better smell to it.
I fervently disagree. But question, with the bar soap, do you use a washcloth? Do you use one of the poof things, or do you use nothing? Do you just use the bar?
You mean a loofah?
Yes, a loofah.
Sometimes a washcloth, but mostly the bar. I get a thick lather going.
Yeah, I'm with Sean.
For the record, the soap never touches my body directly. I don't do that whole like.
Yeah, you make a lather. You make a lather in your hands, and then you use that. Yeah.
Yeah. You like lather it up, or in the washcloth, and then you kind of.
Yeah. No, I'm with that. Also, as a random bar soap recommendation, since we're apparently talking too much about soap this episode, when I was using bar soap, I was using a soap with spearmint in it, which will wake you up so fast in the morning. It is really bizarre how effective that is at waking your ass up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, I guess I don't. The only thing I have really against bar soap is that I don't know what the scientific backup is on this, but that it has germs and gets mildew. Those are the only two things.
It does get mildew. I don't know about germs, though.
That's a little...
That's all right.
It just feels gross.
That's fine.
Also, it's hard to handle.
You're not wrong there.
You make a good point.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal preference.
But I don't live in Oz, so I'm not that worried about it.
Tyler, where do you stand?
I don't know. I just buy something in a bottle.
You just buy the bottle with the coolest logo on it.
He loves their campaigns.
I do like for body washing. I do like ones that have the little particles in it, so it's a little scrub. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh man, those are terrible for the environment.
Are they?
No,
Yeah.
No, not always.
They're little plastic beads.
Not always little plastic beads. Little plastic beads got banned a while ago, and now you can't put that in them. So half the time they are natural exfoliants such as peach stones, pumice, or other things like that.
Oh, good. So it's just externality put in my soap.
Yeah, or salt. Salt is good.
I love salt.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, really, I think it would be a service to the good people of the internet, just to kind of go through everything that could possibly, make us more woke, such as not using little plastic beads in your scrubbing stuff for your soap.
You literally can't anymore because they got. Yeah.
Okay, since we're running out of time, I'm gonna do 3 more.
Great.
Three important ones. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Fabric softener.
No.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my god.
Dryer sheets for the win.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm with Emily. I use dryer sheets.
I use dryer sheets too.
They're in my apartment, but I don't use them.
I don't think fabric softener is even that good for your clothes.
It's not good for your skin either a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about this being an industry that goes down.
Is anything good for you? Find out next week.
What else you got, Sean?
Okay, next is department stores like Macy's and Sears.
I have strong feelings about this.
Snake people flock to fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara. Macy's and Sears have suffered. Sears is closing nearly 300 stores.
Stop charging so goddamn much for clothes.
Stop charging so much for clothes that also aren't really that fashionable and aren't durable. One of the best things that I think I've learned from Sean in recent years is to buy good clothes and take care of them well. And almost everything I've ever bought, both from a fast fashion place like an H&M and from a department store, is just worse quality. I would much rather go and spend, 60, $70 on a pair of pants from Banana Republic or Tommy Hilfiger or somewhere that I know are going to last me years than buy, whatever random brand Dillard's carries now.
To be fair, some of my most recent button-down shirt purchases have been from Target. Sorry.
Target is great.
Target's like on and off with that stuff sometimes.
It's also getting too expensive. Like, they're getting real, self-involved. Your Target. Stop trying to charge me $30 for clothes.
Sean, you work in fashion retail. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons these big chains still make a lot of money. Like the number one store. So like one of the things that they like these big stores and malls look at when they decide what they're gonna like anchor. They're gonna have an anchor store like a Macy's or something like that. Is like what the radius is. Nordstrom has the biggest radius next to IKEA of any company, any store. Like people will drive up to 250 miles to go to a Nordstrom, which is like unheard of. Right, that's what I mean. So like Nordstroms are doing like crazy business. And I think the reason for that is because like Nordstrom doesn't do all these gimmicks. Nordstrom does one thing really right? Customer service. Like Nordstrom, if you go into a Nordstrom and you're going to pay the price, but you're going to get like a crazy good service at Nordstrom. And like people want that. I feel like millennials want to have that. Or they want to go in and do like a Marshalls or a Nordstrom Rack or something where you just go in and you can like kind of do your like fashion scavenger hunt and then you can get out. Or like we're moving back towards designer stuff. I feel like a little bit more like you want to have something with like a Coach label, or you want to have something with like blah, 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 blah. It says, I work for Tommy Hilfiger, so it has to have like a Tommy flag on the front of it because 90s is back. And like, so we are like really capitalizing on that. And that's why I feel like a lot of those stores like Macy's, I think Macy's is doing okay. But like, when was the last time that you went to a Sears? Like Sears had Wrangler jeans and dishwashers. It just wasn't a conducive business model because you don't order from a catalog anymore. Right? Like there's tons of other competitors that are out there doing all the same stuff that Sears does, but they're doing it in a better way, Like I think that's just what's going on with those particular places is they're having to find markets that better, like nobody is. I feel like somebody isn't like loyal anymore to going to a department store, because the expectations that our grandparents had for a department store are not the expectations that we have for a department store. Like when I think about going to a department store, I think of like exactly what Taylor said. Like it's like some maybe some designer brands, but probably a lot of house brands, and they're at like, kind of a mid-quality at a little bit more of an elevated price.
And the thing is, if you're going to buy those kinds of, like that quality of clothing, you can do that just as well online and usually at a lower rate. And I think that's been a key part of it too, is that I don't think e-commerce has really cannibalized your designer or designer adjacent brands as much as it has the department store. Because if all you need is just a pair of jeans and you don't care that they're Jenkos or whatever, like just get them on Amazon. It doesn't fucking matter. You don't need to go to Sears for that.
The only places in retail right now that are actually seeing positive business is outlet malls.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because like I think it has more to do with the perception that if you go to an outlet mall, especially a premier outlet mall, that you're getting designer brands at like half of the price, right? Like if you go to a Coach store in a mall, your expectations are going to be spending $500 on a purse. If you go to a Coach store out at a Premier Outlet, like I can go to the Coach store that's in my Premier Outlet. They have this like a similar purse that's $168 and 50% off that. And they still get designer collections. Like it's just, but that's just one thing. It's a changing market. There's people looking for different stuff. Money's tighter, so people are having to do more with less. And it's just, there's a culmination of factors there. Millennials are watching less football than before.
God, there are so many reasons. Oh, I don't know which one to say first.
Football sucks. I hate hand egg. Everyone loves soccer, or
Soccer.
the true name, the one true king of flat is football.
I don't know. I think that people are still. I don't understand this one as much because I've not seen a decline in football. And more people I know are definitely more into baseball. But also I think that I don't understand this one. But I don't understand why people watch football in the first place, so.
I think it's just waves. I think when you have stereotypes that come to the forefront, and you're like, oh, everyone watches football. It's just for meatheads, that's what and then like kind of when jocks kind of stop being like sort of like the popular thing to be, like I'm sure in high schools we were probably seeing less people that are being valued for their athletics or whatever. And so sooner or later it just kind of becomes like, okay, so this wave of people doesn't care about football, and it kind of slowly just kind of erodes down. They find, I guess, other sports, to like.
I think with it too, there are kind of these like twin issues with football. The first being that there's just more competition now. There's more stuff on Netflix to watch. There's more sports to watch than ever before. And then you have all the controversies that have mired football over the last few years, whether it's traumatic brain injuries or issues with player
Domestic
strikes
abuse,
or
player strikes, like protest, like players' free speech, like the list goes on and on and on.
The NFL has a lot of PR problems right now. I don't want to list all of them. I'll link in the show notes to a really great interview that Chuck Klosterman did with Peter Kafka on the Recode Media podcast. And part of it, they talk about the history or the future of football. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about that conversation is, they're both optimistic football fans, but they concede that a lot of younger people don't watch football and don't want their kids playing football because of all of the terrible stuff that's been happening in the NFL over the last couple of years. And if it doesn't turn around, it could kill football as a sport.
I honestly believe one of the only reasons that football still maintains prime slots is, well, I guess there's a few. First of all, there's not that many games. So towards the end of the season, it's basically like, make or break. There's no ties. You basically just go. And gambling. Fantasy leagues hold that sport together. Like the NFL has to keep like fantasy and betting alive within its ranks because that's what makes football watchable. Like I really feel like that's what it is. Like everybody still knows it. Fantasy leagues are a huge thing. No one else you would not care about, what the Los Angeles Raiders or what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing, or like the Los Angeles Rams or whatever, the Oakland Chargers.
Yeah, you would only care about like the Patriots, and that's it.
Right. It would just be like who's going to show up in the World Series.
We're a sports podcast.
Who's going to show up in the Super Bowl? Like, and when there's money on the line, it makes you care.
So
to be fair,
go ahead, Emily.
To be fair, I think this is a weird focus group to be talking about this. I don't like. I know that you guys are into other sports besides that, but like, I'd really like to hear a football fan's take on this. And the problems that they have with their sport and that kind of thing, because a lot of people still think that like football holds frickin' cities together. Like, people still think that. And so it's going to be interesting to see how millennials who are still into football change the game as it goes along.
Let's go, Emily. Emily's got her internet garbage this week. Emily, what do you have for us?
I will put a note down in the show notes, please, Taylor, if you could.
I will.
It's called Dream Daddy.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It's a dad dating simulator. And random people that I know keep playing it. And it's very confusing. And apparently, so basically the idea is that you build a dad, like you are a dad, and you date other dads. And there are different types of dads that you can date. And it's kind of it's kind of a continuation of the really popular dating simulator trend that's been happening recently. It came over from like Asian markets, and now it's kind of more mainstream. Tyler's nodding enthusiastically. There's one about a pigeon where you play as a human and you start.
Oh, we've done a whole
bunch of
episode on
pigeons.
it. We'll link it in the show notes.
Oh no, I'm behind, aren't I?
This is what happens when you don't listen to the podcast, Emily.
I don't. Somehow I missed that episode, but this one is interesting because there's this whole cultural thing surrounding like dads and the term daddy now, and now there's a dad dating simulator.
All right, Tyler, go ahead. Tell us all why this isn't garbage.
I mean,
Wait. So the goal of the game is to be a dad and seduce other hot dads.
that's right, Sean. Well,
And go ahead.
Wait,
No.
so see that point kind of missed it because I was like, wait a second. So you like create a dad and then you like try and like
that's right.
get your
It's
dad.
it's
But I didn't
a
realize that it was.
homosexual relationship.
I didn't
with
realize
another
that it
man.
was like a homewrecker kind of game where you like. Not that,
no,
not that I'm assuming that just to have a baby that you would have to be in a heterosexual relationship. But what I'm saying,
they're not all married.
oh
I don't think that's the
my
intent.
god!
I
think you
these
just
are all
outed me as
single
being this
dads.
like inner bigot.
Yeah, it's single dads.
Tyler, your take?
So, okay, well, I mean, okay, so I already knew about this game, so that's not really a surprise. Because
He's champion.
it was made in part by a bunch of people that worked on a few different projects. Most notably, someone that works with Game Grumps, which is a Let's Play channel that blah 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 whatever. If I say those words and you understand what that means, then great. You already have a lot of context. And it was written by some other people that were, I guess, are actual writers that actually care about this sort of thing. And so what they did was they actually, apparently, they use like different minorities, and there's like a trans character, and so they like really consulted a lot of these people. And although the idea of the game is that it is, it's supposed to be humorous and a joke, but they also wanted to not make it a joke at the expense of, minorities or other people and that. And so a lot of people have enjoyed it for that reason, because it's been, has a dad of every shape and every color, So it's been largely, been accepted as a good thing by, a lot of the gaming communities.
That's really interesting, actually. Because I didn't look past, like the surface thing of you're dating dads.
Mm-hmm. And apparently the writing's actually really good, and you have a lot of interactions with your teen daughter, and so she apparently plays a pretty big role in the game. So
based on the reviews, it does not seem like the writing is very good. Here's just one from very recently. This user does not recommend the daddy dating sim and has put 10 hours into it. They said, I typically don't write reviews for games, but in an economy where money is tight and purchases matter, I felt I needed to review this one. Here's the summary. Don't buy this game. The storylines for most of the dads are lighthearted and cute. It's truly a heartwarming game. However, that's where the positivity ends. The content is lacking as you only get 3 dates with each dad, and this is hardly enough to build a true connection with them. It feels like the route ends just as you were falling in love with the dad.
Aww.
Feel like I don't play dating simulators, but my question is, maybe you covered this on the other podcast. Why do people play these dating simulators?
Why do people play dating simulators? I mean, I guess because they want it's sort of like it's really more of an interactive graphic novel or interactive choose your own adventure kind of book. And so, it's a way to, it's someone who wants to play a game but doesn't want something that's particularly challenging or difficult. They just want to play something to enjoy themselves, to relax, and then, they just probably want to look at a bunch of, I guess, hot dads. I guess it's really,
Mm-hmm.
Usually the roles are reversed, and there's usually a bunch of anime sexy girls that you're like, they're all very attracted to you, and you're trying to decide which one you want. And so this is just sort of a role reversal that isn't often seen, I guess.
No, I think that's interesting.
Do you like to read manga? Well, that's kind of... because that's basically what they kind of are taking inspiration from.
No, that makes sense. I've watched this. Like, I've been watching 2 people who I follow on YouTube play it, and it's pretty funny. Like, the actual dialogue is actually pretty funny. I've laughed out loud a couple times. So, yeah, it's just been my first encounter with this kind of thing.
This seems so strange to me, not to completely psychoanalyze you, but you are a vocal proponent of shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. So I'm really kind of surprised that this isn't like right in your wheelhouse.
You're actually not wrong. That thing is basically like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is basically a dating simulator. You're right.
So what you're saying is you're going to buy it and you're going to play it right away.
I think there's a difference there in having yourself be involved. I like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette because I can comment on other people's choices and not be involved with it. As opposed to like a dad dating simulator, which I guess I'm just overestimating the amount that it's like connecting to people, you know what I mean? Like it's something more like you're choosing. I definitely understand where Tyler's coming from with it being more of a choose your own adventure type of storytelling.
Sean, you've been conspicuously quiet. Are you over there downloading Dream Daddy and building your first dad?
No, but I really like, I love the idea of this whole role reversal thing, and like it's just fun. As no one knows because they didn't watch Sean Doesn't Play, because
there's like
no one watched that show.
The title ended up being a little too real. I actually really liked role-playing games, so like seeing this is actually kind of interesting to me. Yeah, if Tyler bought it for me, I guess I'd play it. I'd probably play it with somebody else. I'd probably play it with Sarah. I think we'd get a kick out of it, like
a nice couples bonding moment.
Is now the part where we say which daddy we want.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I definitely want the anime, the vampire.
There's options. Where do you see them?
I put an image in the Skype chat.
When you first meet the vampire guy, though, he's like arguing with someone over a shirt at Hot Topic. So, like, that kind of makes him garbage. He's like, this shirt is not Victorian, it is Edwardian. How dare you sell this at this store? I'm a big fan of the bookish looking one.
In the brown suit?
Yeah, he's your kid's high school teacher.
Nice.
Though I know a lot of people go for the coffee shop owner who's directly to his left, who has the dreads.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, there's so many upsides to this game. I don't know who to pick. I'm like thinking like, well, the only one that I don't really like is he has a child, so I don't.
I mean, they all have children.
Oh, they all do?
But
It's
that's
a
part of the
dad
all
experience.
dating
dads.
simulator, Sean.
Just because you could be a dog dad. I don't know. Shut up.
Because dogs are children.
The one that's like overweight on the far right has a dog.
Of course he does.
He has a corgi.
It's
He's
gonna be
probably my
Taylor.
top 5.
No, that is not my pick, Sean. I would probably pick the coffee shop owner, to be honest.
There you go.
You would.
If not him, then the one that Sean immediately wrote off that has the baby.
I was gonna say that. Like, now knowing that they all have kids, apparently, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Asian-looking baby guy because he looks like somebody who likes to hold hands and cuddle. The last one that I'm not picking is sweater and polo dude. That dude is a party douche.
He's married too to a woman.
Oh, you see?
Yeah.
And he looks like he'd be in Slytherin. And I'm not gonna lie, if you're in Slytherin, I don't want anything to do with you.
All right, fellow snake people, it's time to end this podcast like we end all forms of digital media that we consume while eating avocado toast, with a round of shameless plugs for the things that we do that don't make us enough money to pay off our debts. Tyler Reed, where can the people find you on the internet?
Hey everyone, you can find my design and illustration work at tylerdreed.com, and you can find me on socials as TDR Design on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if the people want to get beard oil recommendations from you, where can they do that?
They can do that at sevans8910 on Twitter and Snapchat. Probably hit me up on Twitter. I've been more active on there lately.
Emily, if people are looking for recommendations of an artisanal cocktail bar in downtown Cleveland, where can they get that from you?
They can find me at Emily M. Bamforth on Twitter.
And if you are looking for an alternative sport to spend your Saturday watching, you can tweet at me at TC Olmstead. I'm also on Instagram. And if you like what we do around here and you want to support us, you can leave us a review on iTunes. That would be awesome. You can also like and follow us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribe to the subreddit, or watch us live stream on Thursday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/dudesbrunch. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Dudes Brunch.
Good.